Chosen one, stop what you are doing and listen carefully. Do not rush past this moment. This message did not reach you by accident. Heaven interrupted your path because something powerful is moving toward your life, and you need to know why the training was so intense before it arrives. What is coming is not small favor. It is not a tiny open door. It is not a simple blessing that makes you smile for one day. It is power, and power without preparation can crush the person it was meant to lift. That is why God did not hand it to you when you begged for it. You asked for the door, the sign, and the next step. You asked for the relationship, the assignment, and the financial opening. You asked for clarity when everything felt silent. But heaven looked at your heart and said, "Not yet," because your spirit still needed strength in hidden places nobody else could see. That delay was not rejection. That silence was not abandonment. That closed door was not proof that you failed. It was training. It was protection. And while you thought God was making you wait because you were forgotten, He was making you ready because the offer coming toward you carries weight. You have felt this already. Your body knows it. Your sleep knows it. Your nervous system knows it. Something has been shifting under the surface. And even when your normal life looks the same, your inner world feels like it is standing at the edge of something massive. You may have been waking up in the middle of the night. Sometimes it is 3 in the morning. Sometimes it is 4. Your eyes open before your alarm, and for a few quiet seconds, you feel like someone called your spirit by name. You cannot explain it, but you cannot dismiss it. Chosen one. That is not random. That is not just stress. That is not another strange night. Your spirit has been in training while your body was trying to rest, because the next season will require a level of discernment you never needed before. You have also felt a strange separation. People you used to enjoy now exhaust you. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. The jokes feel shallow. The rooms feel heavy. You sit with people, but your spirit stands apart, as if heaven has already pulled you into another room. Do not call that loneliness too quickly. Do not call it rejection. Sometimes God removes your appetite for old environments before He removes your body from them. He lets your spirit outgrow the room first, so when the door opens, you will not keep begging to stay where you no longer belong. This is why certain friendships became uncomfortable. This is why some voices started irritating your peace. This is why you stopped explaining yourself so much. You did not become cold. You became sensitive to what drains you, because the power coming next cannot be carried by someone who keeps leaking strength. There were seasons when you gave too much. You gave time, loyalty, forgiveness, and access to your energy. You kept showing up for people who had no honor for your presence. You kept pouring out because you thought love meant staying available to everyone, even when your own soul was bleeding. This training hurt. Let us be honest. It hurt more than you admitted. You smiled while carrying wounds. You prayed while feeling confused. You kept showing up while wondering why the people you helped could turn cold so easily. That pain was real, but it was not wasted. God was not teaching you to hate them. He was teaching you not to worship their approval. He was not making you bitter. He was making you clean. Because the power that is coming cannot pass through a heart still begging careless people to validate what heaven already chose. Listen carefully. The dangerous part is not that the power is dark. The dangerous part is that it is real. Real authority changes rooms. Real discernment exposes motives. Real favor attracts attention. Real clarity forces decisions. Real spiritual weight makes hidden things tremble when you stop pretending not to see. This is not punishment. This is preparation. Say that inside your spirit. This is preparation. The fire was not there to destroy you. The fire was there to burn away the version of you that would have apologized for being chosen, different, and full of light. Some of you felt this as brain fog. Your thoughts felt scattered. Your prayers felt dry. You could sense that you were born for something more, but you could not grab the next instruction clearly. It felt like standing near a door while hearing the key turn on the other side. That fog was one of the hardest parts. Not because you lacked faith, not because you were lazy, not because you were weak. It was hard because your spirit remembered clarity, but your mind felt crowded by pressure, grief, noise, and years of surviving what you were never meant to carry forever. Nothing is wrong with you. You were being trained to discern. But before discernment becomes authority, it often feels like burden. Before a gift becomes useful, it feels like a weight. Before a calling becomes clear, it often feels like confusion pressing against your chest. You are not behind. Let that land. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not too damaged. The long road did not prove that God was absent. It proved that the thing He is about to release required more depth than your old life could have given you. There is an offer approaching your life. Hear that in your spirit. It may come through a door, a person, an idea, a message, a sudden instruction, or a quiet knowing that refuses to leave you alone. But it is coming with responsibility. That is why this message had to reach you before it arrived. You cannot receive it from fear. You cannot receive it from desperation. You cannot receive it while still trying to drag old attachments into a new season. Your hands must be clean. Your hearing must be clear. Your heart must be trained. This is the moment where you must stop calling your training a delay. You must stop calling your separation a curse. You must stop calling your sensitivity weakness. You must stop calling your silence emptiness. Every one of those things has been part of the classroom. Now heaven is checking your posture. Can you receive without proving? Can you move without announcing? Can you be blessed without becoming arrogant? Can you walk away without hatred? Can you carry authority without becoming the very thing that wounded you? Chosen one, stay with this. The first sign that the offer is close is not always excitement. Sometimes it is pressure. Sometimes it is heaviness. Sometimes it is sudden separation. Sometimes it is the strange feeling that your old life is still present, but your spirit has already packed its bags. But the training was not the punishment. The training was the protection. And in the next part of this message, you need to understand why God could not allow the offer to arrive until your spirit became safe enough to carry it. Now let me reframe what you have been calling delay. You were not held back because heaven doubted you. You were held back because heaven was guarding what it placed inside you. A door opened too early can become a trap, and a gift received too soon can become a burden instead of a blessing. Think about what you survived. Think about the times you wanted to quit. Think about the moments when you kept praying, but the answer seemed to move farther away. It looked like nothing was happening. But under the surface, God was removing the panic that would have made you chase the wrong door. That was not wasted time. That was training. Every season that made you quiet was teaching you to hear. Every betrayal that broke your trust was teaching you to discern. Every lonely night that made you cry into your pillow was teaching you that your peace cannot depend on people who do not know how to handle your spirit. Some of you need to hear this deeply, because what God is restoring in you is not just motivation, it is clarity. Later, I will point you toward a simple 7-minute audio called the Genius Song, created around gamma brainwave activation. Because many chosen ones are not lazy, they are overloaded. You have been carrying pressure, noise, grief, and spiritual fatigue for so long that your mind forgot what clean focus feels like. This is why a small task can feel heavy. This is why prayer can feel crowded. This is why you can know God is speaking, but still feel like the signal is buried under too much inner static. The Genius Song is not something to replace obedience. It is not a shortcut around healing. It is simply a tool that may help quiet the inner fog, support your God-given clarity, and help your mind return to the kind of sharpness your spirit remembers. But stay with me first, because before any tool matters, you must understand why the power had to wait. The power is not dangerous because it is evil. Hear that clearly. The power is dangerous because it is real. Real power reveals what is false. Real power changes access. Real power makes you stop begging for places where your spirit was never honored. and that kind of shift can shake everyone who benefited from your confusion. That is why God trained your appetite. He let certain things stop satisfying you. He let old praise feel empty. He let familiar rooms feel strange. He let you sit with silence until you stopped needing constant noise to feel safe. He was not taking life from you. He was taking slavery from you. You used to explain too much. You used to overgive. You used to apologize when your spirit felt something was off. You used to stay in conversations that drained your light because you did not want to seem difficult. But the version of you that is about to receive this offer cannot keep betraying discernment for acceptance. This is why the separation felt so severe. God was not only removing people from you, He was removing the false version of you that performed for them. He was removing the need to be understood by people who only respected you when you were useful, quiet, available, and easy to control. Let this sink in. The loneliness did not mean you were unloved. It meant you were being uncluttered. Heaven had to create space around you, because the next instruction cannot land in a spirit surrounded by voices that keep pulling you back into old fear. You were not abandoned in the wilderness, you were hidden there. Hidden is different from forgotten. Hidden means protected from premature exposure. Hidden means God is doing work in you that would be interrupted if everyone had access. Hidden means the oil is forming before the crown is visible. Chosen one, God will sometimes disappoint your wounded self to protect your future self. That sentence may hurt, but it will also set you free. The part of you that begged for approval could not choose what the trained version of you is now strong enough to refuse. This is the reframe. Your delay was discipline. Your silence was training. Your separation was calibration. Your exhaustion was not proof that you were weak. It was proof that you had been carrying more spiritual weight than you understood. Now God is teaching you how to carry only what belongs to your assignment. But you did not quit. You are still here. You may be tired, but you are still listening. You may have questions, but you have not walked away from God. You may have cried in private, but something inside you kept whispering, "There is more than this." That whisper was not imagination. That was the part of you that knew the season was not final. It knew your story was not ending in confusion. It knew your power was not gone. It knew God was not silent because He had nothing to say, but because He was teaching you to hear differently. Now you are entering a different kind of preparation. This one is not just about surviving, it is about receiving. Survival teaches endurance. Receiving teaches stewardship. Survival says, "Help me get through this." Stewardship says, "Make me clean enough to carry what I asked for." You are moving from begging to believing. You are moving from chasing to discerning. You are moving from reacting to listening. You are moving from proving yourself to letting your fruit speak, and that change alone is shaking old cycles around you. Do not be surprised if old distractions try to return. The moment power gets close, familiar tests often knock again. Someone may reach out, a temptation may reappear, a fear may rise, a memory may sting. But this time, you are not facing it as the old you. The trained you knows what peace feels like. The trained you can feel when a door is wrapped in excitement but filled with confusion. The trained you does not need everyone to agree. The trained you can walk away quietly because your spirit is no longer addicted to explaining its obedience. And here is what most people miss entirely. God did not only train you for the blessing, He trained you against the counterfeit. Because before real doors open, false doors often appear with urgency, flattery, and emotional pressure. They look like rescue, but they are really repetition. You needed discernment before you needed opportunity. You needed peace before you needed promotion. You needed identity before you needed access. Without those things, you would have mistaken every loud invitation for God and every familiar attachment for love. The training was not to make you suffer. The training was to make you safe. Safe with influence, safe with attention, safe with money, safe with love, safe with authority, safe with an answered prayer that would have overwhelmed the unhealed version of you. Now you need to see the pattern, because God has never handed dangerous power to an untested vessel. Before the mantle, there is wilderness. Before the crown, there is hiding. Before the offer, there is preparation. And before the door opens, the heart must learn how to remain faithful when no one is clapping. Chosen one, now look at the pattern. God has never placed holy power in untrained hands. He may choose a person in one moment, but he often trains that person in silence for years. The choosing can happen quickly, but the carrying requires depth. That is why your waiting season had meaning. Moses had a calling before he had a platform. He wanted freedom for his people, but his first movement came through emotion and human strength. So God did not throw him away. God took him into the wilderness and trained the fire in him until it became obedience. Do you see yourself there? You felt the burden early. You knew you were not born to live small. But when your heart was still reacting from pain, God did not give you full access, because he was protecting both you and the people your life would touch. The wilderness was not wasted. It was a classroom without applause. Nobody treated Moses like a deliverer there. Yet, in that hidden place, God taught him how to listen before speaking, and how to stand without needing the crowd to confirm what heaven had already spoken. That is what happened to you. You were removed from the noise. You were stripped of the audience. You were placed in seasons where nobody could see your growth. And while it looked like nothing was being built, heaven was forming the part of you that could stand before pressure without collapsing. David was chosen before he was crowned. The oil touched him long before the throne did. He went back to the field after the anointing because God had to train him in private battles before allowing him to face public ones. Lions and bears came before Goliath. Some of you know oil touched your life, but you are still in the field. You feel called, but you are still doing ordinary things. The gap between what you sense and what you see feels painful, but that gap is not proof of failure. That gap is training. The field teaches what the palace cannot. The quiet place teaches courage without performance. The hidden battle teaches faith without witnesses. If David had needed applause to fight the lion, he would not have had courage when a whole nation was watching. Joseph carried a dream before he carried influence. His dream was real, but the path looked nothing like the promise. He went down before he rose. He was rejected, accused, forgotten, and hidden in places that seemed to contradict everything God showed him. Joseph was not losing the dream in the pit. He was losing the immaturity that could not carry it. He was not losing the promise in prison. He was gaining the wisdom required for the palace. God was not changing his mind. God was changing the person who would stand inside the promise. Elijah knew power too. Fire fell. Heaven answered. Miracles moved through him. Yet even a prophet with power had to learn stillness. After the wind, the shaking, and the fire, God taught him to recognize the gentle whisper. That matters for you. The next season will not only require boldness, it will require quiet accuracy. You will need to know when to speak and when to be silent. You will need to know which offer is divine and which one is distraction, because not every open door comes from God. Many chosen ones miss doors not because they lack passion, but because they have not learned the whisper. They chase what looks urgent. They follow what flatters old wounds. They mistake pressure for instruction, and then wonder why the bright door made their spirit tired. That is why God has been quieting you. He is teaching you the difference between noise and guidance. He is teaching you the difference between excitement and peace. He is teaching you the difference between a door that feeds your ego and a door that strengthens your assignment. There are moments when your silence is not weakness, it is strategy. There are seasons when God does not let you respond, because your response would reveal too much too soon. Heaven sometimes hides your next move because the enemy has been studying your old reactions. Chosen one, your training has been deeper than you realize. God trained your mouth. God trained your appetite. God trained your reactions. God trained your exits. God trained your ability to feel pain without letting pain become your master. That is not small work. The final test was not whether you could survive pain. You already proved that. You survived nights that would have made others quit. You survived betrayals that changed how you saw people. You survived seasons where your own thoughts felt like a battlefield, yet you are still here. The final test was whether you could carry power without becoming the people who hurt you. Could you receive authority without turning cruel? Could you receive visibility without needing revenge? Could you receive favor without humiliating those who mocked you? This is why God had to train your heart. A wounded heart wants proof. A trained heart wants purpose. A wounded heart wants everybody to see who was wrong. A trained heart walks through the door with clean hands because the blessing itself becomes the answer. When God gives you power, He is not giving you permission to become arrogant. He is giving you responsibility. He is placing weight on your words, your choices, your attention, and your presence. What you tolerate will matter. What you agree with will matter. Now understand the spiritual mechanism. God is not only adding power to you, He is removing mixture from you. He is removing the need to impress. He is removing the habit of rushing. He is removing the fear that makes you accept counterfeit doors just because they arrive before the true one. So God purified the vessel. He let you sit with disappointment until you stopped making idols out of outcomes. He let you feel overlooked until you stopped needing the room to validate your oil. He let you face silence until obedience no longer depended on emotional confirmation. Now the offer can approach because you are different. You do not hear the same. You do not choose the same. You do not chase the same. You may still feel pain, but pain does not control your direction like it once did. The enemy was never most afraid of your pain. Your pain kept you distracted. Your pain kept you questioning. Your pain kept you circling old rooms. The enemy was afraid of what would happen when your pain stopped making decisions for you. That is the kind of power God has been preparing you to carry. Not loud power, not reckless power, not power that proves itself through drama, but steady power, quiet power, discerning power, holy power that can enter a room and shift the atmosphere without begging anyone to understand. But here is where this message turns. The hardest part is not what they did to you. The hardest part is what you started believing about yourself after they did it. And in the next part, that hidden blocker must be exposed before the power fully arrives. Now we must expose the hidden blocker. It was not only what they did to you, it was what you started believing after they did it. You began to wonder if your sensitivity was a weakness. You began to question your own voice. You began to lower your light so people would stop reacting to it. Chosen one. The enemy did not need to destroy your gift if he could make you afraid of it. He did not need to steal your future if he could make you suspicious of your own authority. He did not need to silence heaven if he could convince you that every divine instruction was just your imagination. This is where the training becomes serious. You are not only afraid of failing, some of you are afraid of succeeding. You are afraid that if the door finally opens, you will have to stop hiding behind delay, stop calling fear humility, and stop shrinking your voice to keep others comfortable. That truth may feel sharp. Let it cut cleanly. You were not born to be small enough for insecure people to approve of you. You were not trained by God just to crawl back into rooms where your spirit had to fold itself in half to be tolerated. You are not arrogant for knowing God placed something unusual in you. You are not rebellious for walking away from what drains your oil. You are not unloving because you finally stopped rescuing people who kept using your kindness as a ladder while refusing to honor your heart. The real fear was never just rejection. It was responsibility. Because once you admit that God has trained you, you can no longer pretend you are powerless. Once you admit the power is real, you can no longer use pain as permission to delay obedience. This is the moment where the old identity breaks. You are not the abandoned one. You are the trained one. You are not the forgotten one. You are the hidden one. You are not the weak one. You are the vessel God protected until your heart could carry the weight. Say it quietly inside. I am not late. I was trained. I am not rejected. I was protected. I am not weak. I was being strengthened. These words matter because your next season cannot be entered with the language of your last wound still controlling your mouth. The power coming to you will require clean agreement. It will require a mind that can hear clearly. It will require a spirit that does not panic when the door appears. It will require you to stop running back to confusion every time peace feels unfamiliar. This is why clarity matters now. Not excitement. Clarity. Not noise. Clarity. Not emotional pressure. Clarity. The offer may arrive through a person, an idea, a direction, or an opportunity. But if your inner world is crowded, you can misread divine timing as ordinary chance. You have been trained to separate power from pride. You have been trained to separate love from attachment. You have been trained to separate loyalty from bondage. You have been trained to separate waiting from failure. Now heaven is asking if you can also separate peace from fear. Because peace may not feel dramatic at first. Peace may feel unfamiliar. Peace may feel too simple after years of surviving chaos. But many chosen ones miss God because they keep expecting His voice to sound like urgency, when sometimes His voice arrives as a quiet certainty that does not need to shout. So before the power fully lands, hear the plain truth. Power needs purity. Delay was protection. Isolation was separation. Brain fog is not your true nature. Confusion is not your permanent home. The trained version of you is not here to chase every door, but to recognize the right one. And for some of you, this is where the next instruction becomes practical. Earlier, I mentioned the genius song. I did not mention it to distract you from God. I mentioned it because many chosen ones are spiritually awake, but mentally exhausted, and their clarity has been buried under years of pressure. The Genius Song is a 7-minute digital audio track you listen to with headphones. It was created around brain entrainment and gamma wave activation. Gamma is often connected with heightened focus, intuition, creative insight, and that clean flow state where your mind feels awake without forcing itself. Dr. Robert Lake, a neuroscientist with 34 years of experience, developed this work after studying how the mind can return to sharper states of awareness. Research connected to places like MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other respected universities has long pointed to the importance of brainwave states. Now hear this carefully. This is not a replacement for prayer. It is not a replacement for obedience. It is not magic in place of discipline. Think of it more like a quiet support for the mind, a 7-minute space where the inner static can begin to settle. Many chosen ones remember being sharper when they were younger. You learned quickly. You sensed things deeply. You noticed patterns other people missed. Then, life became heavy. School, pressure, trauma, survival, noise, disappointment, and overstimulation slowly buried that God-given brightness under mental fog. Some researchers describe a decline that begins early in life, where the natural brilliance of the mind becomes less accessible as the world trains people to survive more than to create. Spiritually, you may have called it losing your spark. Scientifically, it can be understood through the fading access to gamma states. That is why this tool matters for this message. The power coming toward you requires clarity. It requires discernment. It requires a mind quiet enough to recognize a true door and reject a counterfeit one. You cannot carry new authority while your thoughts are constantly fighting old storms. One woman in her 40s spent years helping everyone else grow while feeling like her own mind was running at only a fraction of its strength. After using the audio for several weeks, she described ideas returning naturally and a decision she had delayed for a long time becoming clear in one morning. That kind of story matters because it does not sound like hype. It sounds like a person remembering themselves, and for many chosen ones, that is the real miracle. Not becoming someone else, but recovering the clarity, focus, and inner sharpness that was buried by survival. The original price of the Genius song is $49, but for viewers of this message, the access has been reduced to $39 as a one-time digital delivery through email. No shipping, no monthly subscription, no complicated routine, just 7 minutes a day with headphones. Consider what people often try before this. A meditation app may cost about $15 each month. A growth course may cost $100 to $200. A single therapy session can be around $150. A retreat can cost hundreds more, and many of those paths do not focus directly on gamma activation. With the Genius song, you also receive 4 bonuses with a combined value of $80. There is Genius Child, valued at $19. There is a classic book, valued at $20. There is a guided visualization, valued at $29. There is a 5-habit infographic, valued at $12. More than 18,366 people have already used it, and the refund rate is framed under 4%, which means most people continue with it beyond the guarantee window. That does not make it a promise of instant change, but it does show that many people found enough value to keep using it. There is also a 90-day guarantee. If you use it and decide it is not right for you, you can request your money back. You do not have to return a digital product. You also keep the $80 in bonuses, which is meant as respect for the time you gave it. I also need to protect you here. There are imitations using similar names. Some are just ordinary sounds with no real brain entrainment design behind them. Do not search for it on Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, or random websites, because counterfeit doors often appear when a true tool begins helping people. The original access is only through the link placed below this video and in the pinned comment. That is where the proper version, the 4 bonuses, and the guarantee are connected together. Treat that link like a protected door, not like a random page you stumbled across. Now pause for a moment. Take one slow breath. Place your hand over your chest if you can. Ask yourself one honest question. Am I ready to stop living as though my clarity is gone and start cooperating with the power God has been training me to carry? If your spirit answered yes, you already know the next step. Go to the link below this video or the pinned comment when this message is done. Do not move from panic, move from peace. Let it be a decision rooted in identity, not pressure. And after you receive the tool, the instruction, and the sign, there is still one sacred thing you must do. You must agree with heaven out loud. Because power does not only arrive through opportunity, it also arrives through alignment, and your agreement is about to become the doorway. Chosen one, now breathe. The teaching has reached the place where your spirit must answer. You have heard why the training was necessary. You have heard why the delay was protection. You have heard why the separation was not punishment, but preparation for the power moving toward your life. Do not rush away from this moment. This is where heaven asks for agreement. Not noise, not panic, not performance. Agreement. A quiet yes from the deepest part of you, because the trained version of you must now stand where the wounded version used to hide. The offer is approaching. The door is opening. The instruction is becoming clearer. But this time, you will not enter with trembling hands and a divided heart. You will not carry old shame into a new assignment, because God did not train you this long just to let your past name your future. You are not the same person who begged for the door months ago. You are not the same person who tolerated confusion just to avoid being alone. You are not the same person who kept shrinking to make others comfortable, while your spirit was crying for room to breathe. Something in you has been purified. Something in you has been corrected. Something in you has been strengthened. In silence, the world may not have seen it, but heaven saw every private surrender, every quiet no, every moment you chose peace instead of returning to familiar chaos. Now the power can come differently. It does not need to come with noise. It does not need to come with drama. It does not need everyone to recognize it at once. Real power can arrive quietly, because what God places deeply does not always need public announcement. You may notice the shift first in your decisions. You will no longer need 3 confirmations to leave what drains you. You will feel the difference between peace and pressure. You will know when a door is calling you forward, and when a door is testing the part of you that used to chase validation. You may notice it in your words. You will speak less, but your words will carry more weight. You will stop explaining your obedience to people committed to misunderstanding it. You will stop giving sacred details to unsafe ears, because the trained version of you knows that not every witness deserves access. This is the transformation. You are not being made loud, you are being made clear. You are not being made reckless. You are being made steady. You are not being made untouchable. You are being made faithful enough to carry blessing without losing humility. Now place your hand over your heart if you can. Take one slow breath. Do not force emotion. Do not perform faith. Just become still enough to listen. There is a part of you that already knows this message was not random, and that part has been waiting for you to stop doubting it. Say this in your heart first. I receive the training without calling it punishment. I receive the delay without calling it rejection. I receive the separation without calling it abandonment. I receive the power with clean hands, clear hearing, and a spirit submitted to God. Say this now, if you are ready. I will not misuse what heaven is sending. I will not turn blessing into ego. I will not turn authority into cruelty. I will not turn favor into revenge. I will carry power with humility, discipline, discernment, and love. Say it again in your spirit. I am trained for what God is sending. I am ready for the offer that belongs to my assignment. I release every counterfeit door. I release every voice that feeds confusion. I release every old identity that made me afraid of my own light. There is something holy about agreement. When your words align with heaven, your inner world begins to move. When your spirit stops arguing with who God called you to be, the doors that were waiting for your maturity can begin to recognize your readiness. This is why the enemy fought your clarity so hard. Confusion kept you circling. Shame kept you shrinking. Exhaustion kept you delaying. But now the fog is lifting, and you are not walking into this next season as someone desperate to be chosen. You are walking in as someone who finally knows. You know the training was real. You know the pain did not win. You know the delay did not cancel the promise. You know your sensitivity was discernment being sharpened. You know your isolation was a sacred separation, and your silence was the place where God strengthened your hearing. Now listen closely. After this message, do not run back to the old noise. Do not open the same door that drained you. Do not text the person God told you to release just because the loneliness feels loud for one evening. Protect the atmosphere around your obedience. Your next season needs guardianship. Guard your sleep. Guard your words. Guard your focus. Guard your peace. Guard the first instructions God gives you after this, because early instructions are often quiet, and quiet instructions can be missed when you return too quickly to distraction. If you feel called to restore your mental clarity, your focus, and the sharpness God placed inside you, go to the link below this video or the pinned comment. That is where I place the original access to the Genius song for those who know their clarity has been under attack. Do not treat it as pressure. Treat it as a doorway. If your spirit does not feel peace, wait. But if something inside you recognizes that 7 minutes of focus support could help you cooperate with what God is already doing, then follow that quiet nudge with peace. Remember, the link below is the protected place for the original version, the bonuses, and the guarantee. Do not search for imitations in random places. You have been trained too deeply to walk through counterfeit doors now. Let even this decision be made from clarity, not fear. Now return to the declaration. Type this in the comments if your spirit agrees. I am trained for what God is sending. Write it with conviction, not for attention, not for performance. Write it as a witness that you are no longer calling your preparation a curse. If this message confirmed what you have been sensing, like this video, so it can reach another chosen one who is standing at the same threshold. Subscribe if you know these messages keep finding you in the exact moment your spirit needs instruction. Heaven wastes nothing. You are not late. You were trained. You are not weak. You were strengthened. You are not rejected. You were hidden. You are not confused anymore. You are being called into clarity, and the power coming toward you has been waiting for this version of you. Chosen one, receive this blessing. May your clarity return. May your discernment sharpen. May your peace become stronger than pressure. May your obedience become louder than fear. May every counterfeit door close, and may the true door open with unmistakable grace. You are not who they wounded. You are who God trained. You are not the person who was left behind. You are the vessel heaven protected for an appointed time. And now, with clean hands and a steady heart, you are ready to receive what God is sending.